Hello everyone, today's video I'll be reviewing Matinee from 1993. Matinee is a coming-of-age time comedy period movie. It was directed by Joe Dante, who directed Gremlins and The Howling. The plot to Matinee is about a kid named Gene who's a big fan of horror and sci-fi movies. Him and his family move around a lot because of his dad's work in the Navy. It takes place during the Cuban Missile Crisis. The fear of tomorrow was not coming if Cuba was going to bomb America. Woosley is a famous horror sci-fi film director who's promoting his new movie, believing it's perfect timing to release his new movie to help people for the escapism. John Goodman does a good job as Woosley. He's fun, friendly, witty, energetic, jolly, chilled, laid back, down to earth, a little quirky at times, and he's very passionate about his job as a filmmaker, getting his movie fans involved in the spirit. I love when he's promoting his new movie, he tells the protesters who are against his new horror movie that we all need the escapism. Having to say that as a fact of life, even today's modern, I fit in that category, because sometimes I hate and cannot stand reality. That's why I love to watch movies for escapism. John Goodman is basically mimicking and paying tribute to film director William Castle, who was a famous horror director for his fun gimmicks like House on Haunted Hill, The Tingler, Mr. Sardonicus, and 13 Ghosts. It surprised me this is not a biography film about William Castle. I'm not sure why Joe Dante has never considered that. This is the closest thing to a biography film of William Castle, but fictional, of course. Just like William Castle, Woosley uses gimmicks and tricks to make the movie theater experience fun for the audience. His movie opens up with him saying a monologue, breaking the fourth wall, talking to the audience, sending them warning messages on being aware that this movie will scare you and will give you nightmares. People compare William Castle to Alfred Hitchcock. Castle was a fan of Hitchcock and wanted to be on the same level as Alfred Hitchcock. I like the bond Woosley and Gene's friendship they have. In a way, Gene looks up to Woosley as an uncle or father figure, or as a friend that he never had. He tells Woosley how he loves horror movies, and that his friends in his mind are Vincent Price and Boris Karloff in his mind. Let's face it, we all imagine being friends with famous people who we only know for their art, but we don't know them in real life. There's a part in this movie where the teens are talking about taking a girl to see a horror movie. This reminded me of an old gentleman at a commercial gym I used to work out at, which is no longer there. Now it's a Dollar Tree store. The old gentleman was a retired friendly guy I used to socialize with at the gym. He once told me when he was a teenager, he used to take a girl to see a horror movie on a date. They would get scared, grab his hand and kiss him. He said that was a way to make out with girls. That's something that would not happen today in today's modern world. I once watched an interview with Joe Dante on how this movie was based on his life as a kid growing up in the 60s, when everyone was in a panic during the Cuban Missile Crisis, how Gene was based on him. The difference is, he did not meet William Castle, and did not come to his hometown promoting his new movie. Gene's room is cool with all the monster movie magazines and horror sci-fi movie posters. Reminds me when I was somewhat growing up, but was not alive in the 60s, when these movies were popular. Just like Gene, he's an outsider, he has no friends because his family moves a lot, and does not see the point of making any friends because of knowing him and his family will move again. But he does make some friends, somewhat. He makes friends with that one kid you might recognize from Disney's Hocus Pocus. It's funny how Gene's semi-friend Stan has a crush on the pretty popular blonde schoolgirl named Sherry, who broke up with a guy who just got out of prison, while during the matinee movie premiere, Woosley hires him to play the monster. While dressing up as the monster, he sees Stan kissing Sherry, and this makes him mad, ruining the movie experience for them. That girl who played the love interest was played by Kelly Martin, who played the younger sister on the drama TV show Life Goes On. Her character has a older brother who suffers from Down syndrome. I don't know why, she looks and sounds a little bit like Sarah Michelle Gellar in this movie. I wouldn't be surprised if she auditioned for this part, or could have been offered the role, but I have no proof of that. Sarah's a typical cliche pretty teen girl who every guy wants to go out with because of how hot she is. Because the world's about to end, they think she will have sex with any guy. Gene meets a girl named Sandra he takes a liking to. Even though their acting and chemistry was good, I feel like it was rushed and forced. It's not bad, the acting and the chemistry, I just feel like it was forced too fast. Sandra was played by Lisa Jacob, who you might recognize from The Daughter and Mrs. Doubtfire. Her character is libertarian, you would say. She doesn't participate in the duck cover drills when the alarms go off. She thinks it won't do any good or won't make a difference to be protected from the radiation poison. This movie is another example of defining the time period of 1962, how people feared and worried that they were going to be bombed and tomorrow was not coming, that the world was going to end. The part when Jean is in school during the middle of class, an alarm goes off, we see the school practice stuck under drills. When me and my parents were watching this last year, they are living proof of remembering doing that when they were little kids growing up in school. Whenever my mom tells me stories like that, she says, who knows this is going to make a difference in protecting and saving them. For my parents, it was stuck under drills in school. For me, after 9/11, we practiced hiding by the corners of the wall. The part when Jean and Stan are home from school hanging out, they go into town to see how people are in a panic because of the Cuban Missile Crisis. Everyone is stocking up on food and other groceries. Just think how this reminds us what happened 3 years ago when we cannot get toilet paper in the stores. But then again, the Cuban Missile Crisis is a different story compared to the coronavirus pandemic. What I really love about this movie is the tribute to classic sci-fi movies. Being a fan of 50s sci-fi film that I am, I noticed and pointed out all the 1950s references tribute to classic 1950s sci-fi movies. If you're a fan of 50s sci-fi movies and knows the references, you will know right away. Great nostalgia vibes. Here are some examples. Kevin McCarthy's cameo in the fake movie tribute to Invasion of the Body Snatchers. The fake Mant movie poster looks like them. When Jean and his little brother and Sandra are watching the movie, the monster takes off his mask and we see how he turned into a Mant. Tribute to The Fly when he reveals his face to his wife that he turned into a monster accidentally. When the movie theater panics, thought the bombs went off and they run out of the movie theater, tribute to The Blob. The fake movie Man is a reference to the Deadly Mantis. Believe it or not, you can watch this fake movie on YouTube, but it's only 15 minutes. You don't see the full fake movie. Even though I do like this movie, my minor complaint about it is that I wish this is the kind of movie where the fake movie came to life, kind of like the purple color Cairo Rose or Wes Craven's New Nightmare. That could have been cool and created more suspense, the movie coming to life. Film directors like Joe Dante, who was born and grew up in the 1950s and 1960s, watching 50s, 60s sci-fi movies. When he grew up, the movies he made and directed were tribute to the 1950s sci-fi movies he grew up watching as a kid. Despite Jerry Goldsmith composed the movie, if you're a big fan of classic horror sci-fi, you can tell some of the music was borrowed from classic monster movies. A young and unknown Naomi Watts has a small part in this movie, playing a fictional actress in this movie. When Jean takes his younger brother to a movie, she's in the movie within the movie. When I was doing my research on this movie, this one part I read about on IMDb.com was interesting to read about how the original screenplay was supposed to be. Joe Dante said the writers of this movie had the original intention of this movie to be about an old movie theater at the Matinee. They show the fake horror sci-fi movie called Mant. The characters are kids who grew up together in the same neighborhood. It was about the kids' imagination with their POVs, and that the movie theater had a phantasmagoria of scary matrons, vampire projectionists. The movie's going to end when the kids are grown up. They have a reunion at the movie theater, but they sadly find out that the movie theater they used to go to as kids is gone. The old movie theater is now a video rental store. From reading this made me think about, imagine if they went with this storyline, how empowering it would have been if the original movie was like this. It makes you think of how places you remember as a kid growing up are gone. It makes you think of places I used to love going to as a kid that are no longer around, like Blockbuster, the old Yankee Stadium, the Warner Brothers store at the mall from the 90s. I forgot to mention the great movie ride from Disney World. Makes you think how sad that is. The first time I heard about this movie was from James Rawls' Cinemassacre's Monster Madness in 2016. His last one at the time until he bought it back recently in 2021. Once again, James, you have good taste and you did not disappoint me. But here's a funny thing that will make you laugh. My first early glimpse of this movie was in the second Beethoven movie. When the dog Beethoven and his girlfriend are at a drive-in movie theater, a clip of this movie is shown on the big screen. As a kid, I thought they were watching a fake movie. This is a movie I wish I knew about early in my life, but at the same time, I'm glad I saw this movie later. I probably would not have appreciated this movie 20 years ago like I would now as an adult. I may not be nostalgic about this movie like some people might be, But this is a movie I see myself going back to rewatch repeatedly, and we'll get this movie on Blu-ray someday down the road. I like how after the matinee premiere and Surviving the Crisis, Woosley talks to someone about his next movie idea on Ghost, a reference to William Castle's 13 Ghosts. It kind of saddens me how this movie does not get much attention, it's not talked about that much. It's hard to say this movie has a cult following. If you're curious about a movie that does not get enough attention, hype, and if you love 50s sci-fi B-movies, check this movie out. You won't be disappointed. So that was my review of Matinee. Like the video, subscribe to the notification bell to get the latest updates on my YouTube channel, and I will see you next time.